Hey guys, Kevin this review for Outlander Season 1, Episode 15, Wentworth Prison. And this episode, I really was interested in because a lot of people are telling me this episode is going to be really hard to watch and you're not going to like this episode, is going to be really hard to watch and you're not prepared for how intense it's going to be. And I really was not prepared for how crazy this episode would be. Honestly, this episode was insane, I have to say. Everything about this episode was crazy and just it really was crazy. There's not a whole lot to say about this episode because it's really setting up for the finale, which I don't really want to go into grave detail in this episode because there's a lot of things that I really don't want to talk about that was just really hard to watch. And a lot of this episode was just crazy scene after crazy scene. By far the best episode of the season, but it was so different than any other Outlander episode we've seen, really. It was so much more intense, it was so much more violent, and I was not prepared for how crazy this episode would be. This was basically if episode 5 was the whole episode. That's pretty much what this episode was. But let's get into this episode because it was fucking insane. There's a lot to talk about. So, basically, we start right away with a crazy scene. We see this group of prisoners wait for their names to be called, and basically among them is Jamie and Tarim. And unfortunately, they're talking, and Tarim very quickly gets hung, who I knew that Tarim was going to hang, and it's not quick. It's not quick how he gets hanged either. It was very quick. And basically, at the letter of the execution with Jamie is turned, and basically, we know he wasn't going to die. I mean, I knew he wasn't going to die. First of all, he's the second main character of the show. There's no way they're going to kill him off. And we see a moment of Jamie questioning whether to just step off the boards and meet death rather than let Jack. And luckily, he is saved, but he's saved by Jack, which is like the worst person he could have seen. You see this look on Jamie. He's not really sure if he should just stay on the board and kill himself so he doesn't have to face Jack, or if he should just let Jack take him. He knows either way this is not going to end up well for him, so I mean. But the thing is, I think he really thought about Claire, and would Claire really want him to do this? Would Claire really want him to sacrifice himself? And I knew that he wouldn't want that. So for the rest of the episode, Jamie is pretty much imprisoned by Jack, and it's crazy to watch in this Wentworth prison. He's chained to a wall in a dark, stone-lined cell, and he's trying to free himself by pulling on the chain, but it's no use. He will continue to try, and he continues to try throughout the episode, I mean, and that's why there's not a lot to talk about, because a lot of this episode, he's pretty much just chained up, and it's really crazy what I have to say. This whole episode, it was just really crazy what was going on there. So, eventually, Claire does find him. Now, I knew that this was not going to be good when Jack chained up Jamie, because obviously we know that Jack wants Jamie sexually, and I knew that Jack would try to finish what he started on Jamie. I knew that was going to happen. So Claire, meanwhile, she's arrived at the prison, is managing to get an audience with Sir Fletcher Gordon, the warden of the prison, and being an Englishwoman in Scotland has paid off again. Claire does now reveal who she is in relation to Jamie, just that she's an acquaintance of the family, which I think was the right thing to do, because she knew what could happen to her, and she's refused a visit or even a letter to Jamie, because Sir Fletcher's not totally without redemption. He takes a pity on her and gives her Jamie's belongings to return to the family. Now, Claire is a very strong woman, and she keeps together until she leaves the prison, and I was happy that she, that she did what she did, but I love how strong she is, but she's strong until she leaves the prison, because Murtagh's there to rescue her, because she does end up meeting with Jack, basically, and it gets really crazy with what happens there. I'm going to get to it, but basically, Murtaugh is there to rescue her from being weak in the knees and being physically sick over the situation, and it's in that moment that you see how Murtaugh cares for Claire. You see how he cares for her, and again, I love their relationship. Honestly, I was this close to crying, really, when he freed her, and there were scenes where I was this close to crying, because Jack basically almost rapes her, and I thought he was just going to rape her right in front of Jamie. It was crazy to watch, and I really thought that what was going to happen. But luckily, Murtaugh does save her, and I was very happy that he did save her. So, back at the local pub, but she does not get to see Jamie this episode. She does not meet back up with Jamie, which I thought was going to happen, but she does meet back up with Jack, which is probably the worst thing that could happen. So back at the local pub, Claire is resenting the fun that Angus and Rupert are having at a game of cards, and Willie keeps Murtaugh and Claire company, and Angus and Rupert were not entirely useless. They actually managed to find when Sir Fletcher would be away from his office. Now, Reynolds' interrogation of Jamie begins, and basically, Jack's interrogation of Jamie begins. Jack has brought along some muscle in the form of a daft, large man named Marley, and the petition of complaint against Jack that both Jamie and Claire signed has come to bite Jamie on the ass, and this motivates Jack even more if that is possible. So, basically, Claire and Murtagh manage to get back into the prison and into Sir Fletcher's empty office, and when they're left alone, they start searching, but they don't find much there. They find a set of keys, and is all they get for their troubles, and that comes at a price when they have to knock out a guard who has them caught in the act, and this sets off Claire's excursion into the prison to find Jamie, and apparently walking around to several holding cells yelling for Jamie, and you're wondering if she is going to find Jamie in this scene. I mean, I really thought that was going to happen, but she's yelling for Jamie, and the entire part of Jack's time with Jamie is a mind game, because Jack wants Jamie to admit his fear of him and surrender to him. And I thought this was really interesting what we saw with Jack, because Jack in return will let Jamie choose his own manner of death. He even mentions the death of Brutus, which I thought was insane. It's just showing the monster that Jack is. Like, he literally is telling him, choose how you want to die right now. He's basically telling him, you're gonna die, choose how you want to die, but that's your offer. Like, that's what he's gonna do to him. And Jamie takes his only chance to take out Jack when Jack tries to see Jamie's back, his masterpiece, basically Jamie's back, and Jamie does not succeed, and he pays a huge price for it, and that was just insane when that happened. I mean, this whole episode, just Jamie is in constant peril, in case you guys can't tell. It's insane. Claire does luckily find Jamie. I did not know she was really going to reunite with Jamie, but she does eventually find Jamie, as Randall and Marley have left the door unlocked and open, and she's found by Jack, and what follows is just such a hard scene to watch. I mean, really, it was so hard to watch, and it is the scene of the series that is not easy to watch. In fact, I couldn't even, I glanced at the screen, like, I couldn't even watch it. It was so hard to see what was going on there. I mean, he practically almost rapes Claire. I mean, it's just insane. And I don't even want to describe it, because it's just so hard to describe what was going on in that scene. And it was crazy. It really was not hard to watch. I mean, really was not easy to watch. So, Claire's life is spared, though, which I was happy about. Obviously, her life is going to be spared. But there's a scene where you think that Jack might just kill her. You think that that's going to happen. And it's so hard to watch, because you know what Jack did to her, was what Jack was going to do to her when Jamie saved her. So, what was going to happen here, I mean, who knows what he would have done to her, honestly. That's why it's so hard to watch. It's not so much what happens in the scene. It's more of what you know could happen. So, luckily, Claire's life is spared in the return for Jamie giving up the fight against Jack, and after getting a taste of what Jack is like, rather than just hearing about it or seeing the alter effects, Claire is tossed from the prison, and you hear wolves howling in the background as Claire makes her way through the forest, and Angus finds her and brings her to the home of Sir Marcus McRano, a friend of the Mackenzie and Fraser clans, and is only at seeing his legend herd of cows that Murtagh comes up with an idea to save Jamie, and now they know how to save Jamie, and that's basically how the episode ends. I know I didn't really talk much about this episode. First of all, the website usually used for their recap, they don't really go too in-depth, so that's why this review is definitely not as long as it should be. But this episode was just amazing, I have to say. I mean, Claire's this amazing scene where she talks to Jack about the terrible man he is. I'm really looking forward to seeing what's going to happen in the episode. Now, I have to say, it was not as bad as, it wasn't as hard to watch as I thought it was going to be. It wasn't as bad as Jack's whipping of Jamie and the garrison commander, but it really was hard to watch. I mean, we already knew that Jack was this sadist man, so seeing it again, we knew what was going to happen. I mean, we know what's going to happen when we see Jack on the show now. It's going to be really hard to watch, and considering that that time is not over, there's no telling what could happen in the finale. That's the thing about this episode, is that it's really setting up what's going to happen in the finale. It's why I can't really talk about this episode, because it's really hard to describe. It's really hard to watch. It was so different from any other Outlander episode, because the first, 20 minutes, it was all Jamie with Jack, and I don't really want to describe what was going on. Not that I was, embarrassed to describe it. It's just that I don't really want to talk about it, because I don't really think, I don't really want to talk about Jamie getting tortured by Jack. It's just really hard to talk about, and it's really hard to review. Really, it is. This is a hard episode that's very hard to review. It was the best episode of the season, definitely, because I love that Outlander went there. They weren't afraid to do this grueling, very hard to watch episode that was very thrilling and very dark, but I loved every minute of it, I have to say. I'm making it seem like I didn't like this episode. No, I loved this episode. I absolutely love this episode. I love that they went as dark as they did. It was just really hard to watch, honestly. It was really hard to watch, and seeing these characters on the verge of dying was very hard to watch. In fact, you know that Jamie and Claire are going to die, but there are scenes where you legitimately think they're going to. I don't know what's going to happen in the finale, but I definitely do have some questions about some things that are going to happen in the finale. First of all, is Claire ever going to... What is their real plan here? How are they going to free Jamie? Because obviously Murtagh has a plan, so what is his plan to free Jamie? Because I'm not really sure what that's going to be. Let's talk about Claire and Dougal. Claire and Dougal's thing, someone did tell me that they don't really think that's going to work out, but the way we're going, I'm not really sure if it's not going to work out. Honestly, I don't really know how that's going to, if that's going to work out overall. Is Claire somehow going to get away from Dougal? I mean, definitely they have that deal. We don't see Dougal in this episode, but I'm definitely sure that's going to come into play. Also, Claire hasn't really talked about Frank in a while. Is that going to come back somehow? I kind of feel like that's something that has to come up in the finale, obviously. One of the major parts of the show is, of course, her getting back to her own time, and I don't think that's really a concern of hers right now, but that definitely is something that I think needs to come up in the finale. Also, the future of Galus, I want to know what happened there as well, what's happened to Galus. That's definitely something I want to come up. Also, I want to know what's going to happen to Jamie. Is Claire going to be able to rescue him? I'm pretty sure she will be, but Jack is not going to die. I'm saying this right now. Jack is not dying in this finale. He's not dying. Jack, I think, is going to be on for the rest of the show, and I think Jack is just going to be that character that just makes the show as dark as it is. And I have to say, Tobias Menzies is such a good actor because of how layered he is. He can play Frank, who's this, sweet, caring, loving husband, or you can play Jack, who is about as much as the devil as you can get, honestly. I don't think there's anyone more than the devil than Jack. Jack is basically the devil. That's basically who he is, and I think it's really all I have to say about this episode. But overall, guys, this episode was absolutely amazing. I can't wait for the finale, but now we have to wait 2 weeks. What the fuck are you doing to me, Stars? Why are you making me wait 2 weeks? Like, seriously. I don't know why they're making me wait 2 weeks. Maybe because of fucking Memorial Day weekend next week. I don't know why, but for whatever reason, they're making me wait 2 weeks, and it's just like... Hey, at least I'll have time for classic movie reviews, okay? There's at least that. I'll have time for classic movie reviews and movie reviews. That's cool and all, but basically this week is just going to be movie reviews because I have, like, nothing on TV now anyway, so just put another one of my shows on hold for, like, a week. Yeah, great. Thank you. Yeah, thank you, Stars. I really appreciate you not giving me any TV to watch all week. Like, I really appreciate it. Literally, the only show that I will be reviewing to you guys this week is The Flash. Like, besides the show on Sundays, the only show I will be reviewing is The Flash. Like, that's the only show I have left. It really sucks, but, that's such is life, honestly. Such is life. But let me know what you guys saw this episode. Was it as hard for you to watch as it was for me? For me, it's not that it was hard for me to watch. It's just really hard to review. Because the episode's not like, this happens, this happens, this happens. It's more like just torture and setup and things that are happening in the finale. And... it's definitely a very different episode than what we've come to know of the show. And I loved it. I really did. It's just, I don't want to say I love this episode because it was basically just, it was really hard to watch. It was really dark stuff. Definitely very dark stuff. It wasn't lighthearted. It wasn't like last week's episode, which had like fun stuff. This was a legitimately dark episode. I love the show for going there, but I just don't really know what else to say about this episode other than it was really hard to watch, and I loved every minute of it. But that's basically my review. Hope you guys enjoyed. Let me know if you guys saw this episode, and I'll see you guys in my next video, which will be for my review of probably a movie review, and I will see you guys for that. Okay, bye.